Where the heck you been at, boy? No, I don't want to hear it. You've been roaming the streets again. I told you next time I catch you, you're going to be leaving my house. I'm not going to have no man in my house that don't want to respect me like your father. And I'm not raising no gang member. So you don't have to go. Because you're not going to put me through this like your brother did. Get out of my house. Go. But where am I going to go? I have nowhere else to go. I don't know where you're going to go, but you can't stay here. Go find your daddy. Because I can't raise you. You don't listen.
Hey yo, thanks for tuning in to The Source, your source for celebrity news. And I know, you're sitting over there like, Source, why did you make us watch that? I made you watch that because after reviewing some of the new details in the Shannon Sharpe story, I was sitting over here like, oh my goodness, either Tubi, Tyler Perry, or Lifetime really need to make this into a movie. Because, as you know, Shannon Sharpe is currently being sued by a woman who he met when she was 19, named Gabby. And Gabby is suing him for SA. However, prior to Gabby suing him, Shannon Sharpe was already being sued by an ex-girlfriend named Michelle Bundy. Similar to Gabby, Michelle Bundy also says that Shannon Sharpe was abusive and SA'd her. However, Shannon Sharpe says that Michelle Bundy is an absolute nut who was stalking him and she's crazy. However, here's the kicker, and this is the reason why Shannon Sharpe's story really needs to be done into a movie by Tyler Perry, Lifetime, or Tubi. Because after people started to run with the story that Michelle Bundy Evans is also suing Shannon Sharpe for alleged SA and abuse, Shannon Sharpe's attorneys came out and did a press conference in which they said that Michelle Bundy is an absolute nut, and as a matter of fact, she spent 3 years in jail because she actually tried to murk her husband so that she could get with Shannon Sharpe. When discussing Michelle Bundy Evans, Shannon's attorney said, "It should be of no surprise that when someone famous is in the news, all sorts of people crawl out of the woodwork to share their connection to the person in an attempt to profit from the alleged relationship. In many cases, those stories or accusations are nothing more than old news, fanciful exaggerations, or sometimes blatant misrepresentations of fact. They are shared on social media and fed to reporters with intentional factual omissions and no regard for the truth. This is obviously purposeful and designed to create a fabricated narrative. This is exactly what's happening to Shannon Sharpe, and the resurrection of the case involving Michelle Evans is a perfect example. Sadly, Miss Evans became obsessed with Shannon and decided to manufacture a claim against him. When she couldn't find a lawyer to pursue her outrageous story, she filed a civil complaint on her own that is completely devoid of merit. The fact is that Shannon has had no contact with this person for many years, and it's our understanding that she's still on probation after serving 3 years in prison for trying to murk her husband so that she could hopefully pursue a relationship with Shannon. See what I'm saying? This right here is turning into a Lifetime movie, because why in the world did this white woman try to murk her husband so that she could get with Shannon? I mean, come on. What is Shannon Sharpe over there doing to these white women? And now I'm wondering, did she try to murk her husband herself, or was she out there trying to hire somebody to do it? And if she was out there trying to hire somebody to do it, was there a whole sting operation? I mean, come on. This is the stuff that Lifetime movies are made of. Listen, let me know in the comments, what do you think about Shannon Sharpe's attorneys saying that Michelle Bundy's lying, and as a matter of fact, she was so obsessed with Shannon that she tried to whack her husband? Let me know what you think down below, and while you're down there leaving a comment, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. But before we stop talking about Shannon, I have one more thing to say. The other day, Charlamagne the Not God and DJ Envy were talking about this whole Shannon Sharpe situation on The Breakfast Club, and while they were talking about it, they sort of got into a disagreement, because DJ Envy felt that it was wrong for Shannon Sharpe to have to step down from his role at ESPN just because of an accusation. However, Charlamagne the Not God was like, listen, he should take a step down.
I don't like things like this, right? And I'm gonna tell you why, right? I understand it's a lot of noise, there's a lot of people talking, but that's what the opposition wants. That's what they want. Yeah. They want you to be embarrassed. They want you to start losing money. They want you to start doing that so they feel like that you will settle out and you'll be forced to settle out. Mm-hmm. Now, if he really didn't do it, and this was part of his kinky thing, and it was what it was, and he didn't do it, and he's innocent, and the fact that he has to step away now, possibly losing his job, if he has bills and not having bills because now he has no work, work. I don't like that if he didn't do it, because that's what they want him to do.
Yeah.
They want him to be embarrassed. They want him to feel away, because what's going to happen, he's going to be like, you know what, F all this, let me just settle out on the side. That's what they're forcing him to do, really.
Yeah.
I'm sure Disney still has moral clauses, though. Like, you know, regardless of, you know, anything, I don't know if anything he did was criminal, but there's still moral clauses.
But when you talk about moral clauses, right, I can do what I don't know what happened, we don't know, but from the outside, I can do what I want to do in my bedroom.
Yes.
Right? What I do in my bedroom is my business.
But once somebody...
And I didn't put it out. I didn't film it and put it out. If somebody secretly taped me and put it out, I just think that's wrong. You can't do that.
It's not black and white like that, though.
But time out, I think you're missing something. There's an audio phone call of him saying that he was going to choke her. Now, whether or not that was role playing or not, it's perceived as a video. It's of a Shannon Sharpe saying he's going to choke this 19-year-old girl, however old she is.
Right.
So that is enough to say, hey, you know what? You need to sit down for a while.
But is it if it's a taped secret call and it is role playing? Let's just say, and I don't know.
We don't know if it's role playing.
But we don't know. He's saying it's role playing. She's saying it's not, right? But if it is and it's secretly taped, and this is my secret business. If I'm into what is it, BDSM? What is it called?
But all that has to come out though, and be like, they have to know that for fact. They don't know right now. So why they don't know? So you fire the brother.
So you really guilty, and you got to prove yourself innocent.
He's not fired as of now. As of now, he's just taking a step away. Yeah, and he stepped down. What I think,
I'm just saying, I don't like that.
Alright, so here's the issue that I have with Charlamagne the Not God. How come he wasn't saying any of that when his behind was hit with the sexual assault allegations a few years ago? When it happened to him, he was sitting over there like, nah, I ain't do it, I ain't leaving my job. So how come you have a different attitude when it comes to Shannon Sharpe? See, when it was Charlamagne who was up on the chopping block, he didn't feel that the Breakfast Club had a right to remove him based on an allegation. But now that it's Shannon Sharpe, it's a whole different situation. What's up with that? Now, check this out. The other day, the court revealed that P. Diddy, aka Sean Combs, aka the Diddler, was in fact given a plea deal. However, he turned it down because he fully believes 100% that he can beat the case. And to help him beat the case, Diddy's attorney, Mark Agnafio, actually told the judge that Diddy's not an actual criminal. What he is a swinger. As a matter of fact, during one of Diddy's last hearings, Diddy's attorney told the judge there's a lifestyle, call it swingers or whatever you will, that he thought was appropriate because it's common. Many people think it's appropriate because it's common. Okay, so for everybody out there who doesn't know what a swinger is or what swingers are, here's a definition.
This is a series where I explain the definitions of different relationship dynamics, and today we're talking about swinging. Swinging is a type of ethical non-monogamy or consensual non-monogamy, where usually a group of married or long-term partners come together in a party or event type setting and swap with each other. This is so that they can engage and explore sexually outside of their relationship, and usually once the party is over, they return home to their normal lives, often with their families.
Oh my goodness, if Diddy don't stop, because the question's not whether or not Diddy likes to swing or whether or not Diddy's a swinger. I mean, Ray Charles can see that Diddy likes to swing. The question in this case is whether or not Diddy was over there swinging on people like Cassie with a closed fist to try to get them to swing against their will. That's the question. Listen, let me tell you something. The only thing that I know about swinging, aside from what I've seen on TV, is I had a friend who was into swinging. And this friend told me that he used to go to key parties, right? So him and his girlfriend used to go to parties and they would take their keys and they would label their keys. And then they would put their keys in a fishbowl once they got to the party. Then at the end of the night, the women would go back to their respective houses, but the men would stick their hands into that fishbowl and then go to the house with the address on it and hook up with whatever woman was at that house. I mean, it was crazy. And I remember one time he was single and he asked me, he was like, yo, you want to come to the swing party? I said, absolutely hell to the mother cuffing no. Now, in addition to arguing that Diddy's a swinger and not a freak-off artist, P. Diddy's attorneys also argued that there's no way that P. Diddy could have committed the crimes that he's being accused of because he was mentally incapacitated at the time, meaning he was too drunk and he was too high to commit such crimes.
Hey you guys, welcome back. I was just on TMZ earlier today, so if you guys want to check it out, go over there and check it out. It was a good show. A little bit of technical difficulty, but it was definitely a good show. However, one of the topics that was discussed on TMZ is Diddy. Of course, Diddy. And it says Diddy lacked mental capacity to commit crimes. I'm like, Now, me personally, you guys who know me, been around for a while, I told you that I was a caseworker and all of my clients had mental disabilities, cognitive disorders. Therefore, I'm not a medical professional. However, I do know a little bit about what I'm saying, okay, right? So now, me personally, in my opinion, when it really comes down to it, it's like, okay, is there a medical record? Maybe there is. I don't know. Everything's heavy redacted. But is there a medical record of some sort that says you have a mental disorder, a mental cognitive disorder? Because if it's not, I just don't know how this is going to fly. Diddy wants to have the doctor, who's a Columbia professor, testify he had a mental condition bearing on the issue of guilt. So what does that mean exactly? Well, the details of his alleged condition is redacted throughout the documents, but there are some clues, including a bit of Diddy's alleged drinking and drugging. But me personally, working in the field and having the knowledge that I have, it's not swaying me, not even a little bit. In all honesty, in my opinion, it's making me feel like, okay, you guys are just trying to throw anything out right now. It's kind of making me freaked out when it comes down to the defense, because this just seems like anything, like a Hail Mary pass right now. But that's just my opinion. But you guys, once again, leave your opinion. You let me know if Diddy has cognitive issues. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, is he serious right now? When since is it a valid argument to walk into a court and tell the jurors that you roll too many spliffs, you drink too much Ciroc, and you also sniffed too much pink cocaine? Therefore, you couldn't have done it and you're innocent. How in the world do you think that you're going to walk into a courtroom and think that that's going to fly? That right there is nuts. And now I'm wondering if Diddy's attorneys are too high and too drunk to try this case. I mean, for real, can you imagine if you were on a jury and a defendant walked in and said that the reason why they could not have possibly committed the crime is because they drank too much Hennessy and smoked too many spliffs? That right there is off the hook. Let me tell you something. Over the years, I've worked with many people who have mental and cognitive disabilities, and I can tell you right now that Diddy was not, nor is he now, mentally incapacitated. What Diddy suffers from is something called multi-billionaire-itis, and this occurs when you have so much money that you think that you're above the law. That's the only thing that's wrong with Diddy. But as always, when you have a whole lot of money, you can always find a shiesty doctor that's willing to get up on that stand and say anything you want them to say. So I'm sure that when the trial eventually does happen, Diddy's gonna have an expert up there telling all of us that he's mentally incapacitated. Listen, first, let me know what you think about Diddy saying that he's not a freak-off artist, he's a swinger. And then, let me know what you think about Diddy saying that he could not have possibly committed these crimes because he was mentally incapacitated off of the backwoods, the Ciroc, and the pink cocaine. Let me know what you think about all of that in the comments, and while you're down there leaving a comment, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends. Hey yo, thanks for tuning in to The Source, your source for celebrity news. Peace.